Military Mama headquarters opened a 250 square metre business space in Cambridge in June and now attracts new members every week. Kiri's philosophy is a strong mind is the foundation for a strong body, and has created an environment for mums, bubs and hubs to not only get physically fit but to help improve their mental well-being. And Kiri's here today to share her story with us.
Thank you, Katie. So as Katie said, my name is Kiri Brasendale and I'm the owner and head trainer at Military Mama Fitness. So before we start, I just want to get everyone to stand up. We've been waiting here for quite a while, so we don't have a lot of fluids running through our body. So first of all, so we can get some attention back in, I want everyone to lift up their hands, really nice and high. And first of all, we're going to do at Military Mama what we call the ISO bar. So we're just going to turn our hips like that. Awesome. Now we're going to add in what we call the observatory bar, and that's the top half of our body. And depending how old you are and what kind of clothes you're wearing, feel free to go a little bit lower. So this is what we do, things like this at Military Mama all the time. Thank you, ladies. You've got some fluid running through your body now. You'll pay attention to what I have to say. So about 6 weeks ago, Liz asked me to come here and speak, and I had no idea what she wanted me to speak about. So I said to her, what do you want me to speak about, Liz? What is it that you want me to get across to these ladies? And she said to me that I could say anything that I wanted to. So I stood up and I thought about it to myself, and I thought, what I really want to get out there to all the women, to everyone, whether they're 2 years old or 42 years old, as women, we need to stand as one. So today my speech is called To Stand as One, and it's about mental health. As Katie mentioned, I did go through a turmoil pregnancy. I went through pre- and postnatal depression, but my battle started much earlier on, and that's what this speech is about. Recognising the things that women go through from the ages of 14 right up to the ages of 46. My story really starts so many years ago. I bounced through 2 primary schools, 2 high schools and 2 colleges before running away to the Navy when I was 17. But this story in particular really starts when I was 22 years old. I was a young sailor with pockets full of money and a heart that was heavy. I was head over heels in love with my first true love. We were set to marry in January. I was posted to Sydney and he was posted to Western Australia. We had house plans, buildings in actions, we had cars, a dog and a $20,000 wedding booked and paid for. He was the love of my life and he was my life. Weeks before the wedding, I decided to make a surprise trip to WA to see him. In a few weeks we were to marry, and the Defence Force had kindly told me that they were going to post me to Western Australia, so they were packing up my house and sent me off on a holiday. When I got up there, I found earrings next to my bed, and another woman was driving my Jeep and wearing my clothes and walking my dog. A very long and complicated story later, this is really when my life fell apart. With only weeks until the wedding, and like I mentioned, my house being boxed up as I spoke, I was at a crossroads. I had no idea what to do. A great friend at the time landed on my doorstep and literally said to me, I'm not going to let you go through this SHRT alone. And she moved to WA with me. Fast forward a few months and there I was, in WA, living in the only house I had, which was a house she had been in, working on a ship that was opposite the ship that they were posted to, reliving my pain every single day. I lost control of everything. Everyone knew and everyone talked. The Navy's just like high school. My life was a shambles. My heart was broken, my trust was betrayed on so many levels, and my confidence was at an all-time low. A few months later, and 10 kilograms down, controlling the only thing that I had left in my life to control was my food and my actions. I was calorie counting to obsession and running over 10 Ks a day. I went through a phase that I called the curly-whirly phase, where I went on a curly-whirly diet. I literally kept a curly-whirly in my pocket at all times, and when I felt like I was going to faint, I'd take a little nibble. I was partying like you never ever want your daughter to party. I was dancing on tables. I lost shoes on my way home. I was a VIP at all the clubs, and I drank tequila out of a bottle. All the bouncers knew my name, and I drank Wednesday through to Sunday, and did all sorts of other partying. I was in the wrong crowd, and it was the only crowd I had. I was in the wrong frame of mind. I still worked so hard, really hard, constantly pumping out overtime and going above and beyond. My life was purely out of control. I was either wasted or working. but I was never present in the peace of my own mind to listen to my own demons. About 6 months into this amazing new life I had, I found a new man. Nobody I loved, and he sure as hell didn't love me, but I wanted to party, and he had the means for me to do so easily and freely. Him and his housemate quickly became my best of friends. February rolled around and his housemate, Addison, lost his long battle with bipolar and an addiction to ice and committed suicide, rocking us all to the core. This was enough to wake anyone up, except us. Now with even more pain to deal with, the partying got harder and the absence of my own emotions became even more critical. Don't get me wrong, I was fully functioning. I was still working in a Class A sailor at that. I got minimum time promotion, got every deployment that I requested. My command had no idea the life I was living outside of my ship. My work never slipped and I still ran 10Ks at least once a week, but the pain was always there. My mind was always busy. Along came May and we were busily getting ready for a deployment. I was secretly stoked about this deployment. This was my time to get away from the crowd. 7 months deployed would straighten me out for sure. I had plans. I was going to get away, I was going to be free, and I was going to go on a diet because I was 50 kilos at the time. It was then, just days before sailing, that I found out I was pregnant. My life was once again shattered. I was once again at a crossroads, and I was once again had no idea what to do. The next few weeks were like a blur for me. I found out that I was actually 12 weeks pregnant. I was given days to decide what to do. The ship sailed without me, my family were in Tasmania and my friends were in Sydney. I'd been alone a lot lately, but never had I felt that alone. I made the toughest decision of my life, and that was to abort the child. I spent 2 days watching TV, something I never ever do. I still don't watch TV. I didn't really cry, I didn't really care, and I didn't really feel anything at all for that child. The only thing I did was weigh myself constantly and continue to calorie count. I was not going to get fat. Strangely enough, from the second I found out I was pregnant, I quit smoking, and I was smoking a pack a day at that time. On the day of the abortion, I waited in the waiting room with the father next to me. He anxiously shook his legs as I mindlessly read some trashy mag. We went into the room to get the pre-admission scan. I didn't look at the screen, I didn't really want to, I didn't really care, but he did, and then I looked at him. And for the first time since I'd met this man, I saw the most loving look in his eyes. I rolled over to have a look, and the biggest set of lips were just sitting there, so prominent. This 12-week-old fetus was a baby. It was just lying there looking at me with huge lips. Mommy! So the baby was wriggling and rolling around and wouldn't stay still. But I still didn't really feel. I didn't feel the baby moving. I didn't feel the connection to the baby. He was crying, the father, and he was now standing. And he squeezed my hand and asked me to please keep this baby. I was under pressure, I was scared, and I looked like the most heartless bitch on this earth. There were lips there, for God's sake, real lips that belonged to a small human. So I said yes. I wanted to say yes, but I didn't really want to say yes. I wanted to say no, but I didn't really want to say no. I didn't know what to feel, and I didn't feel anything. I was so confused. From here, we went to the Defence Force Medical Centre and told my doctor that we were choosing to keep the baby. We were 12 weeks in and my doctor took it well. She did, however, ask the father to leave the room, where she looked me in the eye and said, "Are you sure this is what you want? Is this what you want? Do you want to have a baby? You will ruin your career." I cried. I didn't know what I wanted. I said yes and I said no, and then I begged her to make the decision for me. I rang my mum and I begged her to make the decision for me, and I rang my sisters. I sobbed and I cried and I pleaded for someone to make the decision for me. But nobody would make the decision for me. So I turned to him, the only person I had at that time, and he made the decision to keep the baby. It was at this point, with first trimester down, that the doctor told me to put on weight or I'd lose this baby. I was admitted into hospital and force-fed sustenance shakes. If anyone's ever drunk them, you'll know what I mean. They're horrible. I was monitored physically, but not mentally. I left the hospital, and the only friends I had made in WA had sailed already for the deployment. So all I had was him. He promised to leave the party scene and he promised to change. He went to rehab and he was an amazing and caring man for about 2 weeks. But I was so sad. I hated my life. I cried all the time. I would lie in bed and Google ways to kill your unborn baby. I rang Melbourne clinics copious amounts of times and booked in so many appointments. I wasted hundreds of dollars on pre-admission checks. I even went to the side and she sat me down, patted me on the hand and told me, they're just hormones, honey. Of course I had good days. The day that I found out that the baby was a girl, my heart stopped and my heart was filled with excitement. I was absolutely ecstatic, but it didn't last long. The pregnancy was all in all horrendous, the most horrible thing I've ever been through. Halfway through, we got posted to Sydney to be closer to my family support. What I didn't realise when I moved to Sydney was we were also closer to King's Cross, which is an easily accessible party scene for other people. Things went from bad to worse. The people I desperately wanted in my life were the people I constantly pushed away. Everything was spiralling out of control and I had no idea what to do. I stood alone for so long. And then came the birth in December 2012. Not just any old birth, a birth that resulted in me losing 80% of my blood, my daughter drowning in it and me being rushed to ICU for 5 days after having a 30cm B-Lynch stitcher sewing my bowel, bladder and uterus back in. I was unconscious for 5 days and everyone in my life met my child before me. 20 odd days later, I was finally home and hobbling around with more stitches and a homemade Paddington bear. I had somehow found myself in a situation where I once again stood alone. My mother had flown back home and the father was partying every night. On New Year's Eve, when Addison was less than 1 month old, I ended up locked in the bathroom, holding my daughter as tightly as I could. I'd torn my stitches in a struggle, with blood everywhere and being threatened with a knife. What the F had my life come to? I didn't realise there was going to be children here. As you can imagine, the next 12 months unfolded some deep, dark and horrendous feelings and a long, long battle with postnatal depression. I was physically depleted and I was mentally and emotionally depleted. I was in a toxic and dangerous relationship that left me with such low self-confidence, I knew that I would always stand alone. If I had any feeling left in me at that time, I'm sure I would have been scared. Still being a member in the RAM, struggling with a work situation that would only get worse if they knew, I had to hide it, utilising free services and a Defence Force psychologist. My battle was long and hard. My life was a shambles. I had no career to look ahead to. I'd ruined it by having a baby. I had no friends, I had no savings, and I had nothing. I had 2 friends at the time who lived in Sydney with me. Their names were Freya and Terry. They moved me in and they looked after me for 3 months before the Defence Force finally moved me back home to Tasmania. My mother, who was amazing, and my sisters and their husbands were incredible, but I was not. I was alone and I felt so ashamed. I felt regret and I felt deep, deep depression. I couldn't discuss this with them. I stood alone for many months. The military mama headquarters is built on a solid foundation, a philosophy that I believe in wholly and solely. A strong mind is a foundation for a strong body. Something that I know for a fact is true. My battle was horrible and I don't have the hours or the confidence to tell you about it just yet. But let me tell you, through exercise, I grew stronger in the mind and the body. Finally, admitting that I was not okay is what got me on the journey to getting better. I needed a support network of women who knew me, of women who understood, and of women who didn't judge. I asked someone once if she ever regretted having her children. She looked at me with pure disgust. I stood alone in this feeling. Can I please have 2 volunteers to come up to the stage? Awesome. Shannon, is it?
Yes.
Great. And Kate? Liz, come on over. Liz, can I just get you to please stand there with that bunch of sticks? And Shannon, can I just get you to stand there with that one stick? So what Shannon's going to do right now, she's going to grab the stick on each end, she's going to snap it in half. So that was me, 18 months ago when I stood alone. With the smallest thing, I would snap in half. This is your sister and your cousins, your friend or your front desk chick. This could be your mother or yourself. When we stand alone, it's so easy to snap. Can I get you to try and snap it back? Good effort. So this is us, as a community of strong women. This is what we need to be. This is what you need to be, and this is what our parents need to make. That's what it's like when you stand together. It's easy not to stand alone if you have people that know how to stand next to you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. As women, we need to work together towards supporting each other. We need to not judge each other and not look at each other funny. Don't look at women funny because they're wearing high tops and skirts. Don't look at people funny because she asks if you ever regret having your children. Don't judge her because she loses her cool at her toddler and screams at him or yells at him or maybe even gives him a little tap on the hand. Hold out your hand and take that person's hand. Tell them that it's okay and it's going to get better. Put your arm around her shoulder and tell her it gets easier. High five her for those awesome pink high tops. Can you come back up, Liz? Is that all right? High five. With the stick. Awesome. So now can everyone just stand up, if that's okay? And just take the hand of a woman next to you. All of you, or just one, whatever. Now with all of your might, absolutely everything you've got, try and break those sticks. Good effort, you might need to come to weekend, but good effort. You can't break them because they do not stand alone. They stand as one. Each and every one of those sticks knows what it needs to do to support the stick next to it. Look at the women next to you. You know what it is that you need to do to support those women. You know what it is that you need to do to stand as one. We as women know what we need to do to support the mothers, sisters and friends we stand next to. But if not for them, then do it for our daughters, because they deserve to be raised by a generation of strong, incredible, understanding women, because they deserve to stand as one. Thank you.
Kerry, that was sensational, thank you. Yeah. Just a little something to say thanks for us. And I think you've just exemplified what our organisation is about. It's about bringing people together to share and support and help each other through this difficult journey that is mothering. So thank you, Kerry. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thank you for being so brave to share your story.
Thank you.